Hello there, nerds. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit of Star Wars news. It's been a busy week for Star Wars news this week. A few things coming out, some good news hopefully. So without further ado, let's do this.
You better be ready. Glorious.
Hello there. So earlier in the week, Ewan McGregor did an interview, I think it was for the Hollywood Reporter, and in it he was discussing Kenobi and the filming thereof, and how he'd had to take a break due to the vaccine that he just had from extensive lightsaber training or sword fight training and hand-to-hand combat training. I'll pull up the interview here, I'll highlight the section, and as you can see, he's been training for several months with 2.5 hour sessions with sword fighting and hand-to-hand combat. So it looks like he's getting ready for combat, lightsaber fights, several of, hopefully. Who's this going to be against? So way back when the Kenobi show was announced, and Kathleen Kennedy very proudly came on stage and said it was going to be the rematch of the century, and I think inwardly we all sort of sighed, oh god, here we go again. Initially I think we all thought that, it just doesn't tie in with the canon. Vader and ObiWan didn't have a rematch after Mustafar. It's heavily implied that they haven't seen each other for a very long time. There's that scene in A New Hope where Vader, he senses Obi-Wan again. He's like, I haven't had presence I haven't felt since. And then he just turns around, storms off.
I sense something, a presence I've not felt since. He is here.
Obi-Wan Kenobi? What makes you think so?
A tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master.
But it's heavily implied it's been a long time since they've actually met. So I think initially everyone thought, no, you can't have a rematch, they shouldn't meet, they should not have a rematch. But fuck that. Fuck that. There are ways to do it. Visions, dreams, Force battles in their mind maybe. But yeah, man, I want to see this. I want to see the Obi-Wan and Vader rematch. I think it would be the rematch of the century, and it can be easily done without ruining the canon. Initially, like I say, I thought, no, you can't have a rematch. Obi-Wan and Vader shouldn't be fighting again. But I think in the comics we've seen how Vader relives this moment in his mind. He's constantly obsessing about the battle and how he lost to Obi-Wan. He was the chosen one. He knew he was stronger in the Force. He should have been able to beat him, and yet he didn't. That defeat to Obi-Wan cost him so much, and he obsessed over it for decades. Just imagine the first episode opens up and we're back on Mustafar, reliving that battle as it were. Maybe it'll have a different outcome. Maybe Anakin will turn into his Vader suit halfway through. When Obi-Wan gets to the high ground, I'd love to see Vader in his actual suit in that battle in Mustafar. How he would do things differently. Would he just force choke Obi-Wan out and kill him there and then? I think there are many different ways. It is an ongoing theme in Star Wars from a certain point of view. I just love to see it. We could also see it from Obi-Wan's point of view. He could be reliving the battle in his mind, how things got there, what he could have done differently to try and save Anakin. Could he have saved Anakin during that battle, or should he have ended it there and then? It's probably the biggest mistake Obi-Wan thinks he's made by leaving Anakin alive or Vader alive on Mustafar. I think that's going to be one of the themes of this Obi-Wan show, is the guilt that Obi-Wan has. He'll see Vader going around being a badass, ruining the galaxy, and I think some of the guilt will be part of his PTSD. There's also the possibility of flashbacks, Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, as they were in the actual Clone Wars. We could see some live action Clone Wars action. Tamara Morrison could come back in and play, Cody, Rex, all of the clones obviously. I think that's easily on the cards. One of the rumours from the casting was one of the people has been cast as a young Ahsoka Tano, so if we do get Clone Wars flashbacks, she basically needs to be included. I think that'll just be epic to see a young version of Anakin and Ahsoka working together in live action. I think that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait for the show. I mean, there is potential for them to screw the canon up. Will we all think, if Obi-Wan leaves Tatooine, I think a lot of us would think that's kind of ruining the canon. He'd have to have a very good reason. I think he will leave Tatooine during the show. I can't see it all being based in the desert. Who knows? I mean, maybe we'll see Obi-Wan take on a Crypt Dragon. He knows the sounds that they make, and he imitates them in A New Hope. He seems very wise of the Sand People. This is basically because in his spare time, he does take on quite quite a few Tusken Raiders in his days on Tatooine. This will probably be the hand-to-hand combat Ewan McGregor is referring to in the interview. He's on Tatooine, he's not going to be using his lightsaber. So whether he carries any other sort of weapons around, he's not going to be carrying a blaster around now, is he?
So uncivilized.
So yeah, I think we're going to see some nice action in this, and like I say, I can't wait. As far as the canon goes, yeah, I mean, just go for it. I'd like to see that battle replayed in just about every episode of this. Like I say, from different points of view, from with different outcomes. Anakin playing out different scenarios in his head, or Vader playing out different scenarios in his head. How he could have beat ObiWan, how he should have beat ObiWan. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait. There has been a little bit of bad news, in my opinion, as far as Star Wars is concerned, involving the comics. I'd like to send a shout out to Thor Skywalker and his channel. He's an amazing Star Wars YouTuber, one of my favourites. Go and subscribe to him. But he recently exposed this new comic that Star Wars have done, basically trying to tie in the Rise of Skywalker with the original trilogy. Personally, I think this is just a massive mistake. In Thor's video, he goes on to explain, what a massive waste of resources this will be. In this particular comic, it shows how Palpatine and Vader have both already been to Exegol and have basically finished this fleet of hundreds of Star Destroyers with Death Star technology on board, as we saw in the Rise of Skywalker. And one of the biggest things, I think, is that the fact that he has Luke's hand in a vat, or I think it's heavily implied that Snoke was made from. So again, they've got Luke's hand, genetic material, Snoke is a clone, Rey is a clone, Rey Skywalker. Can you see where this is headed? A theory I've had is basically because of all of us YouTubers coming up with these retcon theories for the sequel trilogy, and how it basically revolves around Grogu's blood. And now that they don't have Grogu's blood, thanks to Luke Skywalker's intervention in the season finale of The Mandalorian, season 2 of The Mandalorian. So I think this is them just saying, no, we don't need Grogu's blood, we can just use Luke Skywalker's blood. So I think again they've just answered the retcon theory, but they're just ruining it, man. It just doesn't make sense. Palpatine already has this fleet on Exegol, so why doesn't he just use that to invade the galaxy instead of building a second Death Star, putting himself in risk? It's like it implies he knows he's going to die, and then wait 20 or 30 years before he comes back with this fleet which is already ready. Just doesn't make sense. I mean, no, it just doesn't make sense. Again. So yeah, Lucasfilm, I think you just need to leave the sequel trilogy alone. Stop trying to retcon it. Stop trying to build it into the already established lore and canon. You're just ruining everything. Just, leave the sequel trilogy as the bad mess that it is, please. So we can just forget about it and move on. But yeah, please just leave it alone. Some good news, on the other hand. I believe we may have some proof that finally that Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out. As you all know, when she came on stage way back when, and basically the first thing she did is take the EU and just throw it in the bin, which, did make a lot of us very happy, especially when several years later she comes out and says, we don't have any source material. You do have source material. But yeah, recently some of these legend novels are being re-released. We're seeing some of the old content being put onto Disney Plus. Yeah, I'm sure we all want to go and watch the Ewoks movie. But yeah, I mean, so we've got some of these Legends novels that are being re-released, which is a great thing. And now the Gina Carano episode with Bear Grylls is being shown on Disney Plus on the National Geographic channel. Personally, I think that in itself is evidence that Kathleen Kennedy has finally been silenced. I mean, she's not going to be fired, we all know this. Many people are hoping she's going to be publicly humiliated like they did to Gina Carano, but that's not going to happen. If anything, she's going to get promoted. Everyone will be singing her praises in the industry. For what, I'm not quite sure. Looks like that she just doesn't have any say anymore. I can't see her making this big of a U-turn, especially since the Gina Carano thing. It hasn't been much time. The Legends thing, you can say, yeah, okay, yeah, we could bring them back. I think someone else is making the calls at Lucasfilm these days. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy is in charge anymore. Awesome news. So yeah, that just about covers my Star Wars news for this week. We got the Bad Batch starting probably tomorrow by the time you watch this video, if not earlier. It is May the 4th this week, so I thought I'd get on the old Star Wars hype. So, until next time, may the Force be with you. Farewell.